Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to walk through some practical tips and ways to present technical skills in a portfolio. Now, the choices that make a portfolio easier to evaluate and easier to trust, and I'm going to use my own website as a working example. And if you're building your own, especially if you're coming from a non-traditional background, you might find this very useful and applicable to yourself as well. Now we're going to get straight to the points, as there are around 10 relevant ones. And as well, I'm going to include images on the other side of the screen for you. So the first one, as you can see, is the hero section, which is like credential, badges, and checklists from the image. The top of the page is the highest traffic area, so it is wise to use it for signals someone can independently check. So instead of opening with a summary, you might consider it more helpful to open with verifiable references. Online, the first thing you see is obviously the credentials listed in public directory and official project release that contributed to you, an organization membership, and links to public contributions. And the point here is rather verification, so the reader can confirm each item without taking necessarily my word for it. Tip 2 is describe your work as a set of capability domains, not a single job title. A narrow title can limit the number of openings you map to. So if you list the adjacent role categories that draw on the same underlying skill set, you widen your reach without overstating anything. Mine maps the same core competencies to several role types, for example, integration, scientific software, backend, and developer tooling, reliability, etc. So that's kind of like same skills, larger search space. Now, tip 3 is write your profile around outcomes and system properties, not necessarily the tool list. A list of technology is low information just by itself, and describing a class of problems you solve travels much further and better across domains. Mine is built around things like preventing invalid states and improving error clarity, which is a transferable description. It's just not just a stack of things. Now, tip 4 is, and I think this is the most important one, pair your tool inventory with the description of real applied work. So a categorized list of tools is useful for scanning, but on its own, again, it might be low information. So directly beneath the table, I describe the concrete work those tools were used for example, contributions, what I've changed in different ecosystems, and so on. So the list tells a reader what I work with, and the section under it tells them how I've applied it. And that pairing is what gives the competencies credibility rather than leaving them as a list of words. Tip number 5 is include third-party validation where you can. A reference from someone other than yourself lowers the reader's evaluation risk because the signal isn't self-reported. So that's a short, specific quote from, it could be from a collaborator, it could be from a coworker, it could be even from a teacher, course tutor, etc. So either way, somebody outside and apart from yourself. Tip number 6 is state your engineering principles explicitly. This tells a reader how you make decisions, which is a good predictor of how you handle problems you haven't shown them. So mine are deliberately concrete, clarity over cleverness, catch problems early, predictable behavior, etc. So they do describe a decision-making model, not necessarily a tool set. Tip number 7 is structure each project project as a problem, approach, and outcome. A project title on its own is low information. And again, we're trying to sort of like prevent that and to heighten the signal and clarity. So creating a decision narrative, what problem it was, what you chose, and what changed is what communicates reasoning. For every entry, a reader should be able to answer three things. So what did this address? What skills did it use? And why would it matter to them? Tip number 8, give people a direct surface for independent inspection and keep it organized. Now I separate two kinds of links, sort of like a general link hub with profiles, contributions, contact. So a reader knows exactly where to find them. And for example, project-specific links live with the projects themselves. So that is, for example, from the image here, from a portfolio, you can see that's featured projects and browse all projects. And each entry carries its own web link, download link, or repo button. But either way, everything is clustered for a specific project itself, so people don't have to go through the main link hub of links. They can see specifically for a product or for a project, and then verify themselves. It also helps to show at least one finished packaged artifact. On mine, for example, there's a licensable tool with its repository public for being public for inspection. But because it is shipped usable product, that signals production grade work. And again, I had to choose just one. There are many more, but ultimately, for me, it was more so utilizing a hybrid model where I don't make everything behind closed doors, because I think being able to inspect code and to showcase the code and everything else is also important, and therefore hybrid model in terms of licensing and personal usage. Now, there is another additional thing. As you can see from the images too, you can add even a little personality and range in terms of having your own interactive pieces. For example, in here as well, playable demo, a timeline of, for example, for me personally, people who inspire me. And these aren't core evidence of work, but they show like your values and engagement with the field and make it more memorable ultimately. And finally, if your path is non-traditional, and in my case, for example, being disabled and neurodivergent, you can give that context in on your own terms. For me personally, there are two practical reasons why I considered it and why it's important for me. First, framing it myself controls how it's read rather than leaving a gap for somebody else to fill in, which is super useful, of course, for answering any questions preemptively before people stumble upon them. And second thing is functions as well as an early compatibility signal. For example, environments that aren't a fit can self-select out before anyone invests time, and the ones that are a fit can self-select in as well. So it won't be the right call for everyone, of course, but that is the main reason, and it's completely fine. That's a deliberate choice. And also remember, that's not a requirement. You don't always have to disclose things like that. However, if you're looking into any adjustments or are not able to work in a traditional way, at least for me, I found that super useful. So overall, this is the through line across all of it. In other words, make your work easy to verify, easy to access, to evaluate. A portfolio's job is not necessarily only to make the claims, but also to give the reader enough verifiable context to make a confident decision. And whatever your path looks like, the positive is that you are the source of the truth in terms of your own online presence. So you can control your narrative and work the best, and your own work in the best way that represents you. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that you find this interesting, and take care.